Like basically most of the material in there, in particular the hi-hat ambidexterity exercises and the nude rudiments, is not nude rudiments, by the way, new rudiments. Maybe I should sell the nude rudiments. I probably sell more copies. Welcome to 8020 2.0. This is the new digs. So obviously today we're discussing Mr. Dana Hawkins, who, aside from being one of my favorite drummers and one of everybody's favorite drummers, was actually probably the biggest single inspiration behind the 8020 roadmap and the coaching course. This stuff that I developed over the last 2 years was an explicit effort to try to play more like Dana. So I do feel like even though there's still a huge gulf between me and Dana, I've spent a lot of time unraveling that question, so I may be well situated to start to answer that for you guys. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you 2 simple things that Dana Hawkins did to make his drumming surprising and more interesting that have nothing to do with his fancy chops, of which he has many. So I want to start with the beat that corresponds to the tune I covered called the Eldridge. The Eldridge is an Evan Marion track. It's in 4 and it's got a moderate tempo with a 16th note pulse. And that's the type of thing that you might just play like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And indeed, if you can play it like that, it'll sound good. I would rather you try to play it like that than you try to do a bunch of fancy shit and it just falls flat. One of the things I talk about in the 8020 roadmap is the personal drum troupe, i.e., can you do this? And have your bass drum and your right hand be together? And can you make your snare rim shots good? So it's clear that if you were to sit down and try to play the Eldridge tomorrow, the beat I call the minimum effective beat, which is the simplest beat you need to fulfill the role in the song, would be this. And again, those of you who are familiar with the roadmap and the coaching course will have noticed this whole full circle thing. Life imitating art, imitating life. It probably came from Dana in the first place. Dana uses a unique trick in this beat, which is that he simply offsets the second rim shot by 1/8 note. And let me show you what that'll sound like. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. He does 3, 4. So if you want to more closely approximate the real beat that Dana plays on the Eldridge, the next step is to just open the hat on that beat where the snare drum would fall. So instead of, you just open the hat. And then Dana likes to open the hat on the last beat, on beat 4 too. So you get this pss, pss, which is just a wonderful little textural thing. So that's 3, 4. So that's all well and good if you're just going to do right hand lead and leave the left hand on the snare drum. But of course another thing Dana is famous for and again, he's not the only one, but he's sort of elevated it to an art form, is moving all the ghost notes to the hi-hat. So you'll see him do all this wonderful stuff like all that sort of stuff. But let me give you the sort of minimum effective beats to go from just playing the ride cymbal skip pattern with the right hand to actually playing something more like Dana would play on this. So we'll do that, and then we'll incorporate this hi-hat texture back in. So the minimum effective beat, if we're just playing the straight 4 in Dana style, would be this: 3, 4. And I love that because it's hand to hand. It's all singles, so it's really robust. And one thing when you play along with these electronic tracks is you want to effortlessly project above the track, or if you're playing with the gospel choir, above the band and above the choir. I mean, that's how a lot of these gospel idioms evolved. That's why there's a lot of doubling the floor tom with the hats. So you get that, the low end with the high end, so it just cuts through things. So you're doing. And then let's just reincorporate that open hat textural element. So it'll sound like this: 2, 3, 4. So that's element number 1 that Dana kind of made famous, is displacing backbeats and incorporating other textural elements instead of those backbeats. Element number 2 that Dana does on kind of the down low, but if you listen again to tracks like Encore and the OC, you'll see that conventional beats are taken and not only halved, but they're quartered. So let me tell you what I mean. The tune Encore, which I wasn't able to cover for this recording because it wasn't among the drumless tracks that Evan released, but which I'll link to, is essentially the same thing. It's got a 16th note pulse. It's like bum ba dum bum bum ba dum bum ba da bum ba dum bum bum ba dum bum ba da bum. So if you were one of my favorite drummers, Stuart Copeland, playing along with that beat, or in kind of a conventional rock or funk sense, you might just go 3, 4. So if you were to take that and have the rhythmic pulse while keeping the same tempo, that would mean instead of playing, you would play 3, 4. Okay, so that's halftime. If you listen to the track, what Dana does is it's quarter time. So instead of 1, 2, snare, 4, 1, 2, snare, 4, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, backbeat, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, backbeat, 2, 3, 4. So that'll sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I improvised a lot there on the hi-hats, but let me just show you the minimum effective beat for that. So it'd be bump ba dum bump bump ba da bump ba da 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I just want to point out one more major thing about that, which is that Dana's amazing micro time and command of texture both make possible and necessitate this approach. It's useful to think that if somebody is adept at inventing things like if he has that not that sort of command, like a million times better than that, but that sort of command of texture, he wants to leave a lot of room for himself and not just clog everything up with backbeats. Because if you're not leaving yourself a whole lot of textural room to explore the timbral possibilities of the drum set. So it's a logical next step from his textural approach to make that possible. So in this last part of the lesson, I want to actually take a beat from last week when I was talking about one of my other heroes, Mark Juliana, which was a beat in 3, which was literally, at the time I was coming up with logical beats to play at each stage of a metric modulation, so don't hold it against me, but my 3 beat was something like 1, 2, 3. Da, 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 da. That's a circus beat, right? So let's apply Dana's construction to this. Can we half time it so that instead of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, can we play 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's good. That's a country ballad. That's a great beat to have in your arsenal. Can we quarter time it? So could we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Anyway, I digress. What if we Danify that beat? How would we do that? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we quarter time things, and then we incorporated hand-to-hand on the hi-hat and texture. And I think if you want to approach what Dana's doing and take a big lesson from what Dana's given to drumming, those aren't too bad ways to start. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I'm probably going to do a bunch more about Dana. Going to do more about Justin Brown, going to do some Jeff Ballard, may even do one about a little film called Whiplash, but in a way that I think 80/20 fans will relate to. Anyway, I'm like a broken record with this, but if you've enjoyed this and you're not familiar with the channel and you want to go deeper, check out the 80/20 roadmap, link below, which will automatically sign you up to get updates about the coaching course, which is essentially like 6 months of lessons with me for the price of a single lesson. So you want to hear about that. And what we'll talk about is the difference between your heroes and you, and how to actually go back and from the ground level triage you're playing, address the real things that are holding you back, etc. Anyway, it's been real. We'll see you next time. Thanks.